Hi, and welcome to the virtual meeting number one. I've had a number of students email me and say that they're not able to make the virtual meeting time today at 1 o'clock, so I decided instead to record this session and the comments that I was going to make, and then have you do the information that you need to fill in on your own time. And I'm hoping that will reach more students rather than trying to get everyone together at a time when it doesn't work for some. So the first topic I'd like to cover are the political cartoons. Now, most of you have posted your political cartoons to the discussion board, and they're great, right? You've chosen some really effective ones. Please, when you go to the discussion boards, comment on each other's cartoons. I do not give full credit if you just post. It is supposed to be a discussion, so I want you to look at what other people are doing, why they chose what they did. Maybe you have some advice, right? Hey, the logic of this piece is pretty clear. I see blah, blah, blah. Give them feedback, right? That's the whole point of the discussion. So when you don't comment on each other's, then I don't see a discussion happening. So please do that part as well. As far as the choices, they're very good. I did read a few rough drafts, the one that I've received so far. I think I may be one or two behind, but those of you who turned them in on time, I did read through them and give you feedback. And I want to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing. For the most part, what you're analyzing through the political cartoons is very good. So you're looking at the rhetorical appeals, logos, ethos, and pathos within these political advertisements. Why are we doing this? Rhetorical appeals are everywhere. And this is a writing class, but truth be told, there are just as many images and visual representations of arguments in our world anymore than there are written ones. So what I hope to examine, my goal for the first two essays for sure, and then sort of subtly in the third one, is to really examine rhetorical appeals, both in writing and in images, and to be able, with a critical eye, to say, yes, I see the logic in this piece, but it's faulty. Or yes, there is ethos present, but it's limited, right? I want you to be able to look at our culture, both reading and visual culture, and be able to say, hey, this reasoning is faulty. The rhetorical appeals are not well represented. So that's the whole purpose behind looking at these things. And then when you write the essay, I do still want you to put it in essay form. So give me that introduction. The first paper is really pretty straightforward. You can give me an introduction, you give me 3 paragraphs, right? Logos, ethos, pathos, and you give me a conclusion. Your thesis, in this case, is going to be something along the lines of, through this political cartoon, logos, the rhetorical appeal of logos is really not present. The artist is appealing to pathos, right? So this is your thesis, that's your claim. And then your reason is going to be, there's just no logic present, right? It's all about the emotions. And lots of political cartoons are like that. Lots of advertisements are like that. So let's move on and go into a little bit more depth on what the rhetorical appeals are. From what I can tell, right, and again, I haven't read everyone's papers, rough drafts, but what I can tell so far is logos you're able to find. It is logic, it is reason, it is proof. And if there's any kind of statistic on the political cartoon, if there's any kind of those numbers, any sort of proof, that is logos. So it's easy to spot. It also comes up in the form of a logical argument, right? So if, A plus B does equal C in this argument, that's logical. If the argument, presents something that wasn't supported, then there isn't logic there. And then that's an absence of logos, and absolutely comment on that if that is the case. Pathos, I think, is also pretty easy to spot. That is an appeal to our emotions. And it comes up, I think all of the advertisements and cartoons that I saw had pathos probably as the predominant rhetorical appeal. But it's going to look at tugging on your heartstring, right? So the turkey dog image from PETA that someone posted certainly pulls on our heartstrings. No, we are not going to eat the house pet, right? The family pet. Why would you eat a turkey? So that is very strong because we are attached to our pets. And no, we would not eat them. So it's repulsive, honestly. And that is emotional appeal, right? Yeah, we should become vegetarians. We should go vegan because I don't want to eat my dog, so why would I eat a turkey? So pathos is usually pretty clear. Any kind of loaded language, any kind of politically loaded language like patriotism or love of country, this appeals to our emotions, and that is all pathos. There's no logic behind patriotism, not when it's presented just in an emotional sense. You can produce a logical argument about patriotism, but usually that's not how it's used in politics. The hardest one that I've noticed people struggling with is ethos, and this is credibility or trust. And I'm going to actually go to the next slide and talk about it a little bit more. So we already talked about logos, we talked about pathos over here, loaded language and manipulation. With ethos, it's really how things are presented. And are they presented in such a way that you trust the presentation? What does that mean? So first of all, brand recognition. So I remember last semester someone had an advertisement with a Heinz ketchup bottle cut into tomato slices. Well, the truth is, if you look at the ingredients in ketchup, tomato is not number one. It's like number 3 because there's sugar in there and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. But we know Heinz. So they throw that label on there, we see the brand, and we think, oh yeah, they make good ketchup. And we haven't really dug into, right, the health benefits of ketchup, but we recognize the brand, and that speaks for itself. All kinds of brands are like this, right? Porsche, that's a brand that we just look at it and we say, oh yeah, we all want one of those, even when we don't know what the car is like. So look at the brand. Again, PETA is a good one, right? They're very well known for animal rights, right? That's what they do. They protect animals. And we know that now. Things like Dove, the beauty product, or anyway, there's all kinds of brands. And if you look at the brand, you recognize it and you trust it. That's part of ethos. Then in writing, it's about how well the writing is supported. So are they using justification to support their arguments? Are they using sources that, if you take a look at the sources, these are credible and respected sources? That's all part of ethos. If they have no support in their argument, then right away we're not going to trust that what they have to say is credible. Also, is the writing clean? So, if I get a paper from someone and all the way through I is not capitalized, I right away doubt the credibility of this author, because I think, well, they should know that I should be capitalized all the way through. And I know that that's an innocent mistake and maybe not the greatest example, but I am looking for clean writing. I'm looking for an argument that has support from a credible source, and that is all part of ethos. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust your writing if I know you've used good sources. And then finally, voice and tone. So is your voice, is the tone suited to the audience? So for example, if you're writing an essay to me and there's a lot of language in there that really isn't academic, right? Like if you use the word stuff or things or, very or really a lot, I'm gonna doubt your credibility again. So think about that. Think about the voice you're using and the tone. And then finally, and this is something that I didn't put on there, but do you recognize the author of the source? Do you recognize, again, the brand? But for the political cartoons, if you're looking into a political cartoon, do you recognize the artist? And if not, go look them up. Are they published in the New York Times? Are they published in the New Yorker, right? Washington Post. If they have been publishing their political cartoons in nationally recognized magazines and newspapers, their ethos is going to be strong. Okay, so those are the rhetorical appeals. And for the first paper, I wanted you to look at an advertisement and examine those rhetorical appeals. For the next paper, you're going to be doing a comparison. So you're going to look at the rhetorical appeals in a political cartoon, one of your choice, and there are so many out there right now that are fantastic because this Trump guy just sort of lends himself to these cartoons. But anyway, so look at those political cartoons, and then you're going to compare it to an article. And what I want you to do in the end is say which one is stronger. Are the rhetorical appeals in the political cartoon stronger, more convincing, or are the rhetorical appeals in the writing stronger and more convincing? And where do you see evidence of that? All right, so that's the second essay. That's what you're doing for that one. So I want to take a really quick look at some advertisements, just so we know we're on the same page here. So this is, I cannot even read who this is by because it is so blurred. So let's look at the logic of this piece. To me, this is going to appeal primarily to pathos, right, to the emotions, because you look at this beautiful elephant, this gorgeous creature, and crumbling into dust. And that's hard on anyone who likes animals and cares about them. You think that's a crime, right, for that to occur to our animals. So right away, my emotions are at stake, right? Ethos, I'm going to have to look up who this is. Who created this advertisement? Are they credible? Are they reliable? I don't know. I see a little panda in the corner, but I cannot read the words, so I'm not sure if they are or not. And I'm going to have to look that up. Logos, there is a logic to this. Now, I may have to do research to support the logic, but it is here, and we all know that because elephants are endangered. And we are aware that poachers kill elephants for their tusks, and it is happening illegally, right? There's a black market trade for this. So there's a logic to this, that elephants are dying. So all three are present. Which is the strongest? Definitely pathos in this case. All right, so now we've got the second advertisement here, and we've got 3 little bags of goldfish and 1 little porcupine trying to park. Precision parking, park assist by Volkswagen. All right, so first of all, ethos. This is Volkswagen. We all know Volkswagen. Probably some of us drive Volkswagens. I don't have one now, but I have in the past. And they're good cars, right? We're aware of their reliability, and we recognize that great. Now, that's ethos. Now, if I look at logos, is there logic to this? Well, not really. I don't know why I would have 3 bags of goldfish lined up with a porcupine. But logically, this is a bad idea. And I know that because those little spikes are going to poke holes into the bags. So, yes, precision parking is important, or you're going to poke holes in those bags with that little porcupine. So, or maybe it's a hedgehog. Anyway, logically, yes, you would have to park very precisely to avoid touching something that you didn't want to touch in this case. So I see the logic in this advertisement. But really the strongest appeal in this one is also pathos. Why? Because that's ridiculous, right? And it's really kind of scary to try to put that little porcupine between those bags of goldfish. And it makes me kind of smile because I like porcupines. I don't feel all that strongly about goldfish, but porcupines are cute, as are hedgehogs, if that's what it is. So pathos, again, is probably strongest either pathos or ethos, because Volkswagen, that is very predominantly placed in the advertisement. We see it, we recognize it. All right, and here's the last one we're going to look at. Again, pathos, ethos, logos. In this case, I want you to think about this for a minute. Is there logic in this advertisement? Is there pathos, emotions? Is there ethos? And if so, where? Okay? All right, so some things I want you to remember in your writing. So this has to do with the writing that I received already and some of the things that popped up. First of all, avoid I believe, I think, or in my opinion. I'm not too worried about the use of I in a paper. I think sometimes research calls for I. These are the steps that I took. But I don't want to see I believe, I think, or in my opinion, because that makes you sound less authoritative. When I see I think or in my opinion, it's almost an apology, right? Like, I think this, but maybe you don't. Well, you're trying to convince us of something. So no apology, right? Just state it as fact. This is how it is, okay? And that's going to sound like you are the authority on the issue. Take a look at its versus its. IT apostrophe S is it plus is, right? So it's a fact that it is raining in Portland. Actually, it's not raining, but that's my example. So it apostrophe S is it's, it plus is, whereas it's ITS without the apostrophe is possessive. So the dog chased its tail. There is no apostrophe in there. Please remember that a thesis is a claim plus a reason. Lots of times I see great claims, right? Absolutely fantastic claims and no reason. So I don't know why you're thinking that. Lead us, right? You lead the reader so we know where we're going. Be really careful of they. They is plural. It's not singular. And I know we've started to use it in the plural sense and it comes up more and more, but I got to tell you right now, if you have a stickler for writing, this is going to be noted. So if you look at the first example there, the student went to their class. The student is singular. That is one person. So the student went to his class, or the student went to her class, but you wouldn't use their. In the second example, when we arrived at school, the teacher said we were late to their class. Same thing. When we arrived at school, the teacher, singular, said we were late to his class, or we were late to her class. So be careful of this one. See if you can't catch it while you're writing. Support. Okay, give me support. I know Mariah wrote her first essay and she had some research already in there. She went in and she gave support, and that is what you need to do. Okay, don't just make claims that aren't supported. Give me the proof. And then be careful of having more than one topic per sentence, right? One topic, and even per paragraph. So these are just some reminders. Your second essay is going to be a political cartoon versus an article, and I did talk about this a little bit, but we're going to look at an example here. So here's an example of a political cartoon. Now, in the class, there are some links to cartoons, and you may certainly use those. You can also just go on Google Images and find a political cartoon. That's fine with me. But what you want is you want a political cartoon that addresses logos, ethos, and pathos. And then you're going to find an article that deals with the same topic. And then compare which one has stronger rhetorical appeals. So in this case, you are going to have to look for an article that has to do with Trump and maybe his immigration policies, or Trump and his reaction to Muslims. Okay? So you would take this cartoon and you would compare it to an article on the same topic and then tell me which one is stronger. Here's our last example. So in this case, you know, we've got the couple guns cause all this trouble, and then behind them, we've got a little guy playing video games while he's shooting all kinds of people. So of course there's irony. Irony has to do with pathos, right? Because it's kind of funny, but in a sad way. But if this is the political cartoon that you are going to choose, then you'll need to choose an article that deals with the same topic. So it would have to be about video games or violence in schools or guns in schools. And then again, compare those rhetorical appeals. Okay, so this is an example. Do video games inspire violent behavior? All right, so you would go back, you would use the political cartoon, and then you would go to this particular article, and you would compare the two. All right, this is how I would like to see your second paper organized. So you will have a thesis statement. Your thesis statement is going to be that either the political cartoon or the article have stronger rhetorical appeals. It may be easier in this case to put the thesis at the end. Sometimes a referred thesis or a deterred thesis that comes up at the end is more effective if you produced all of the information and then you come to this conclusion. But that's up to you, because sometimes if you don't have the thesis at the beginning, then the reader can become confused and not know what direction to take. But this is how I would like to see you do it. Either use the organizational pattern on the left, look at the political cartoon, do ethos, pathos, logos with the political cartoon, then look at the article, ethos, pathos, logos, and then tell me which is stronger and why. Or you could do number 2, which is on the right. You can look at ethos in the political cartoon and the article, pathos in the political cartoon and the article, and logos in the political cartoon and the article. And then again, tell me which one is stronger. All right, so for this assignment, what I would like you to turn in, I would like you to take either this image, okay, so either the Dove commercial, and tell me ethos, pathos, and logos with that advertisement, or I would like you to take one of these political cartoons and tell me what the ethos, pathos, and logos is in the political cartoon. So please tell me which one you're using when you turn this in, and then what the different rhetorical appeals are within that image. All right, thank you very much.